Okay, guys, let's take a look here. So, first one is from Bolt, a 3700 MMR. I think about Diamond 2, right? Maybe Diamond, yeah, about Diamond 2. How do you defend the fastest Nydus Swarm server from your video? This hits your base at 350 seconds when opening Forge to defend the Scouted 12 pool. Is opening Forge a guaranteed build order loss? It's not. This build is total trash. It's a troll build here. Shout out to Super Saiyan's Itachi for doing it. I love that this is that I've infected the ladder with this build because it's such a dumb build. It is a shit response though. Going Forge up against an early pool has always been a sort of noob way of defending to try and get an economic lead, okay? So let's go back to the start and let's talk about why. And I say noob way, Rocker does it, Sephiron does it. You guys see a lot of people do it to me. And I always, usually in the past, I'd just get way ahead on the techers, the ZERG, take a third, take a fourth, and I'd be in a pretty good position. But going Forge definitely is the lazy way of defending here. It requires a little bit less micro, I guess, but generally going 2-gate is better. Now, if you are going to go Forge and get the cannon, how would you be able to defend? Well, we definitely don't need that pylon. Cannon goes down immediately here. So far, we're looking pretty decent, but I definitely don't need that pylon because the important thing here is to get our Nexus down as quickly as possible if we go Forge. So I would argue that this gateway should be further down, so it plus the Forge and this pylon could be a full gate wall off. So definitely the problem with this wall off is that this gateway is so far inside the wall, whereas if you put the gate out here and then you put the Forge there, the Cybercore could have full walled this. Having a pylon in the wall, this is all slowing our Nexus down, so this hurts us a lot even if we weren't getting swarm hosted. In general, the Forge is going to put you in a very weak position versus the follow-up because you're not as mobile, but it's absolutely playable. I actually have a video that's going to be coming out very soon on YouTube showcasing how to defend this build, but I had the perfect start because I blind went for a gold base. And what you actually want ideally against the Nydus Swarm host that's going to follow this up is you want to have a base here, and you want to spread your production across all those bases so that if they do get in your main with Swarm hosts, you don't want 10 gateways all on one pylon. They depower and kill those gateways and you lose all your production. But if you have your economy here, you have your economy here, spread around the corners, it's going to be really good. If you're playing a Forge, the problem here is going to be the fact that you don't really have many units out, right? So you can't really stop those Nydus worms getting up, and it's really, really awkward. This is also a wall that's very vulnerable to the Ravager proxy hatch cheese, apparently. I guess because the pylon's too far forward? Can you... yeah, so normally we want the pylon further back from the wall. Because if the pylon's in the wall, it's really hard to wall off without... like, you can't full wall off, right? Number one. It's really hard. You always want the pylon with the energy fields just touching the edges of the ramp is how you normally want to place that pylon. And that allows you to easily wall off with structures. And then if you get all in, you can have a big space between the pylons and the building. So if the gateway was here and the Forge was here, you can actually put like a gateway or a cybercore there. And you create a really solid full wall. Buys you 30, 40 seconds against a Ling Flood. 20, 30 seconds versus a Ravager Bane Bust or whatever it is, Ravager Ling or Bane Bust. And that usually buys you time to get out your Void Ray and some more units and build some extra layers of wall, right? Defending most early all-ins is all about that. So that is a good point in the Twitch chat. Max Sands pointing out that does allow you to do that. Good morning to Dot in the chat as well. How you doing? So, against this sort of opening, our Adept's gone across. We've seen we're up against Swarm Hosts. We are in the shitter because we don't have a natural, so we're on one base. We've got a Void Ray up very early, but we did forget the pylon as well. We've built 2 cannons and a battery, which is super unnecessary. Now, why do we know that this is unnecessary? Let's assume we stick with the cannon response, as standard against an early pool. We actually got scouting early on that we don't need more than 1 cannon. And the reason is, look at this. The probe is like, hey, where's your expansion? And then, I guess we do see the gas mining, actually. Yeah, we did actually see the gas mining. So fair enough, it makes sense to build more defense than the wall. Because you could be getting Ravager Linged or Bane Busted. I'll allow it. I think it made sense for this scenario. Never mind what I was about to say. If it was gasless, if there was no gas, then you would just need 1 cannon and nothing else. Because there's no real strong all-in. But in this scenario, you kind of need a bit of extra defense. Because if it's a Bane Bust, man, like... to be fair, these bits of defense, Banelings here, would probably hit all 3 buildings. So... You could argue these extra buildings don't actually help you at all, right? Whereas if the battery was further back and a protected spot, it might help, because this is really weak to Vein Bust. And it's still going to die to Ravages if we don't get a Void Ray out. But anyways, so we're going to build a Void Ray here. And we know what we're up against. We're building some spotting pylons, which is really cute, for sure. I mean, definitely if we could warp in more actual fighting units, that would be big. And if the Void Ray just rallied towards that Overlord, that would be really good as well. Pulling the probes is a good idea, but if the Void Ray rallied quicker, we might have been able to kill this Nydus worm and then trap these units on the inside. Our opponent only popped one queen out. You choose to fight the queen. Now, there's an argument behind, oh, you should have just focused the Nydus, right? Also, your probes should have been very quick to run away. But killing the queen's pretty cool, man. Killing the spore's pretty cool. And then, obviously, you just want to click on the Nydus again here, I would say. Because if another queen gets out, your Void Ray is going to lose that fight. So, does target on that. You also want to drop a battery in your main. And essentially, you want to keep building probes during this chaos. You're not going to get any units out. You're basically stuck defending with 2 Void Rays. But your opponent has given you an olive branch here, which is throwing one of their first 2 queens away. 2 Void Rays beats 2 queens. If they had 3 queens by now, they'd be fine. As it is, what you want to do here is you've killed that Overlord. You've got great vision on this top side. So it's actually very obvious that the next Nydus worm is going to be down here. In general, it's Nydus here, Nydus here, Nydus here, Nydus here, right? So the Void Rays should have immediately known after clearing up the vision, the Nydus here, to go down to the left. Or by default, 1 Void Ray goes in each directions, either way. Now we're chronoing probes, which is good. And in this scenario, because you've got the air momentum, I would keep building Void Rays and try to win the air battle. Usually my answer to this situation is to get Twilight, Charge, and a few gateways and just stay mineral heavy, keep trying to get probes out, which unfortunately you can't do because like I said, I would go take the gold base straight away, take this base, trying to get bases up. So the thing is, if these locusts come in, all you do is you just run your probes away and then you go back to mining. Run your probes away, go back to mining. And if you can have bases out here, oh, he gets over there with the swarm host, run the probes away, go back to mining. And all you ever lose is the Nexus. What you've got to imagine and understand, what you got to understand is the swarm host player has nothing, right? It's 1 base, can't even afford an expansion right now. They've got what? 6 swarm hosts, and remember the swarm hosts have a 40-second cooldown on their attack. So your opponent gets 18 seconds of damage done with the locusts, and then 25 seconds of nothing. And then 18 seconds of locust damage. So yeah, don't stop to kill the locusts is what I would not have stopped to do that there, because now you let him build a spore. If you just move down, click the spore, you could have killed that, killed the queen, and been all good, right? Just run the probes away, and you can even shift click them. So if you see locusts coming in, box the probes, you right click here, and then you shift click back on minerals. So you've automated in 1 action, pulling away from the minerals, going back on minerals. And this is just any weird quick swarm host Nydus build. That's always the trick, right? Where's the other Void Ray? Did we lose a Void Ray to the spore? Wait. Oh shit, did one of those die? No way. Oh, it did? Oh, the queen kills it. Oh, so bad. Oh, that really sucks. But yeah, doubling down in the Void Rays is, I mean, losing that Void Ray is disastrous, right? Super disastrous. And obviously, we're taking way too long to go search. It's so predictable that he would pop up on the top side, right? It's bottom side, top side, bottom side, top side, bottom side, top side, right? So you've always got to be prepared for that. So the Void Rays should have already been on their way up here. What do? Box the probes, click them on the natural. Just send them to go mine there. Ah! It's a little bit slow on it. Good job sniping the creep tumor there. That would have been really annoying to get rid of. If your opponent had been putting more tumors down, that's like a permanent vision there, which is obviously a huge problem. Yeah. There's 3 lings in the natural. I don't know how they got there. And I don't know why they're not attacking. Ooh. Guys, what am I looking at? Guys, what? What? Why are there 3 hold position zerglings behind the mineral line? What? Why? Oh, man. Almost got a queen, not quite. Pull the probes, pull the probes. See, the probe pulls are really slow. Like, it's not something that's, like, in the muscle memory. So what do you do at this point? This is the problem where you've got to learn how to use control groups. So you want to leave one Void Ray on a patrol path here, and the other two should already be heading up here to go cut off the north side of the map, right? And once you've cleared out this whole area, you could just leave a Void Ray on patrol on the top, a Void Ray on patrol here, and a Void Ray on patrol here. And then there's no way they can get into your base. And then you can go, okay, back up to 2 bases, take in a third, go in charge lots, and you can do all that sort of stuff, and then you're fine. But you've got to make sure you split those Void Rays up and don't just run them around. The whole idea is you're setting up a ring of kind of vision denial. And yeah, they could pop a Nydus here and throw Locust in, but they'll be from so far away that they won't get much damage. You could just run your probes away for a few seconds and get back to it. And your opponent's still down 10 workers, so you're still ahead economically in this scenario. So that's it. That's the 101 of how to defend it. Notice we didn't split the Void Rays. The predictable path where the Overseer came from, all 4 Void Rays sitting in one area, and we A-move them reactively. So we're reacting rather than setting up a system for defending, right? And in hindsight, this is really obvious, because you can look at the replay now and you're like, oh, obviously, like, you've got to split your Void Rays up. You can't just sit them in one area. But most players are so thrown off in the heat of the moment, they don't do that. And that makes perfect sense. And you guys should never feel bad or stupid or incompetent for not thinking of something in the heat of the moment. What you should feel very bad and stupid and dumb for is not taking the time to watch the replay and figuring that out. Because when you look at the replay and you spend a bit of time analyzing, it all makes sense, right? But most people don't have the discipline to open the replay unless it's to watching their army win a fight and go, oh, look at me win, right? And that's why most players aren't improving, because they just want to watch their victories. They don't want to sit there and go, that game didn't feel good. It felt really bad. Let's relive that experience and come up with a system so it feels better next time. We have a set play for that situation. So that's what you guys should feel like morons for, right? A lot of the stuff I say today isn't always going to just be in this, like, you know, if you take your time to look at it and look at what's happening, it's like, Nydus here, Nydus here. It's always obviously just Nydusing in different areas so you can get it up. It's not that big of a surprise or anything. But yeah, that's it. The Void Rays are still all hanging out. He's like, I killed the spotter units. There couldn't possibly be any more of them, right? I like making fun of you guys because it really makes the lessons stick. It really makes the lessons stick. They're like, it's not rocket science. And you just rebuild a Nexus. 400 minerals is not that much. You just rebuild it, transfer these workers off that base. Yeah. Losing a Nexus is not too bad. It's losing the workers that's a really big disaster, guys. And stop building Void Rays, because you know he's building Hydras. So, right? If we'd swapped to Charge Zealots would have taken the opponent out by now. Doubling down on Void Rays, like, preferably we get just 1 or 2 Void Rays to deny the vision. Or not even that. Like, I would rather just build Zealots straight away and have, like, some Zealots here, some Zealots here, some Zealots here. And don't get me wrong, this feels like absolute ass to play against. Like, I don't hate on Bolt for that. This is so fucking stupid. Of course, it is so fucking stupid. It is. But you gotta take that rage, and then what you do is you shovel it into the fucking engine of hatred that you use to get better and figure out how to beat your opponent's stupid builds. What do I always remind myself when my opponent's beating me with stupid shit? Rather than judging it as stupid, I must respect its inherent stupidity, because there is strength in stupidity, because stupid is confident. Stupid isn't worried about taking a risk and cutting a corner here or there. So I need to understand where those corners are and go friggin' destroy my opponent. Figure out how to rip it apart. So my hatred in the game, my absolute go F yourself, you cheesy piece of bastard, that is what I use to fuel my engine of self-improvement. So get on it, guys.